Morning, guys. It's Jim Bounds at Motorhome Rehab Ranch over on Patreon, and I appreciate you coming this morning. And I said the next video is going to be about cleaning switches, and it will. But I had a good friend talking with him, and he requested something, and I said, that's something I've got to do right now, and that is spares, things you want to take with you when you go on the road. Okay. All right. So and pardon the shadows. I'm not real good with the lights yet. So look, the other video, I'm all set up now. The studio's going, lights are up. Still figuring out the lights, like I said. But let me do this real quick, and then this afternoon I'm gonna do the one on the switches. So, and I'm gonna put them out. We were on a schedule, and I totally agree with the schedule. They say consistency, right? Well, I'm not consistent. I'm until we can catch up and get a backlog. We had a backlog before, but until we get a backlog, I'm throwing these things out and posting them. So bear with me a little bit, but I'll get them all out. They're all lined up, and as soon as I can get a little bit more coordination, then I'll get there. All right, spares, things to take with you. All right, man. This is for the dude that has a place in Ocala. All right, he's up in New York right now, getting ready to come down, and this is what he wants. Let's break it down. I want you to pause this right now. I want you to go get a piece of paper, a couple of pieces of paper, and a pen. All right, because this is the basic outline, and you're going to fill in all the blanks. All right, let's put it on pause right here. For all of you guys that are prepared, good job. Every time that you pull me up, you may want to have a pen and paper. All right, so here we go. Let's break it down into some categories. The motor, okay? You're on the road. Think about this. What is operating? Now, we may not be able to keep the whole thing working or to be able to fix every small problem 100%. But what we're trying to do is we're having a go bag. We're having something, when we're on the road, something happens, you have an option. You have countermeasures. You can deal with it rather than just going, I've got a flat tire. You got to do something else. All right. First, motor. That's the part that's pushing you. There's three things if you have on a motor, you go. You got fuel, you got fire, and the mechanicals. Well, there's not a piston hanging out the side. The first thing is fuel, because that's what you're using. You started, what was the difference in when you started and you finished? You burnt fuel, right? So on fuel, if you guys have a carburetor, your carburetor filter is a Wix 330-48. I'd have a couple of them, because you pick up a bad load of gas, all the garbage is going to end up in that, right? So a couple of them. I did a story on a video about my wife had one in her purse and saved a rally for us. Okay? All right. Second thing, we're on staying on filters. You have an inline filter somewhere. God knows after 50 years what it is or who put it there or whatever. But you do have a filter. And what I would do before you leave, pre-flight inspection, I would have your filter, a new filter. If we can keep them cheap, you can have them fresh. A filter and either a pusher electric fuel pump for your prime, or a constant electric fuel pump for your fuel injection, or for if you want to go electric pump with your carburetor. All right? Mount them on the outside of the frame rail. So when you're on the side of the road and truckers are going by at 2 feet away from your head, you can get to the filter, you can get to a pump or whatever you got to do. The hoses bring you out to where you can work on it. Because if you don't, I got stories, but we don't have time. All right. So filters, real important. If you have fuel injection, always have an electric fuel pump. Excuse me. If you have an electric fuel pump, get a second one. Get connectors, whatever it takes to get it in between the 2 3/8 inch rubber hoses, and clamp it in and put it in. right? And have a second one. Because the two most highest failure rate things in electronics are motors and relays. Electric fuel pump is a motor. It's going to fail first, so have one. All right. I want you to have about 10 feet of 3/8 inch Gates barricade or equivalent fuel hose and some clamps. A way to tighten the clamps. All right. Because if worse comes to worse, we'll gravity feed the carburetor if we have to. If you got 10 feet of hose, we can do it. So as far as fuel goes, hoses and filters and things like that, that's your fuel. Now, fire. If your distributor will put out voltage to the spark plugs on a rate that it needs to keep up with that the mechanism, it's a motor, you have fire. Now, our GM HEI distributor is so simple, and everybody has all the parts. My personal biased subjective opinion is you need to continue to use the GM HEI distributor that came in our GMCs from 1975 on. If you have a 73, 4, you have points, dude, I just get rid of those, get an HEI distributor, okay? Because if you feed 12 volts to that distributor, there's a wire, it says bad. Put 12 volts to that and ground the case of it, right? You can have a motorcycle battery and set it in the passenger seat and put power and ground to it. And if that distributor works, you will drive. Okay? Parts in the distributor you need to have in your ditty bag. A module. That's the electronic part of it. It goes out, it gets hot, fails, cools down, comes back, runs like crazy, and then fails again. Module. A coil. That's the thing on the top of the distributor that will get hot, fail, cool down, work, fail, coil. Then in the bowels of the distributor, there's a thing called a pickup. That if all else fails, we're going to change the pickup. Okay? Module, coil, and pickup. You want to have a rotor button. This thing spins. You want to have a distributor cap. You never know. I mean, I've seen the distributor cap crack, and then you're done, man. The sparks start arcing through that hole, and it doesn't like itself. All right, so you have a cap. You have a rotor button. Wouldn't have spark plug wires and plugs because, hey, pre-flight inspection, you have good spark plugs and plug wires, right? Say, well, what's wrong with the plug wire? It looks good, it's a wire, right? No. I would replace your plug wires about every 2 years. Because all it is a fiberglass filament with carbon sprayed on it, so it doesn't send out radio waves and mess up your radio. Okay, so they go bad. They start arcing, start taking out everything. Have good spark plugs. You do that on your pre-flight inspection. Okay. All right. As far as your fire goes, you're golden. It'll run. Electrical. Okay. Before you leave, be sure your battery is good, that the cables are good, that there is no chafing, the wires and everything is good. Right? Down in the parts down here are tools. I'm going to mention have a voltmeter. Go to Harbor Freight and buy a digital voltmeter. They're red. The professionals use them. Go buy one of those. Make sure the battery works. Okay. Have a voltmeter at all times. When you call me, I want you to have a voltmeter handy and know how to use it. Read voltage. Find out how to use it on your battery. Read voltage. All right. You want to have some wire. About 10 feet at 12 gauge. Okay. If all cells, you can hang yourself with it. But you can do a lot of things with about a 10-foot long piece of 12 gauge wire. Very, very important. All right. If you have to bypass something or whatever, you can do it. And, ways to connect them together and things like, crimps or whatever you want to use. temporarily tape, duct tape, scotch tape, masking tape, um, Velcro. I had a guy put Velcro in there and it held it until it got going. All right. Okay. Fluids. All your fluids. Before you leave, you're going to check all your fluid levels. Look at if things oily or greasy. Well, that oil came from somewhere. And if it's transmission fluid, well, you might want to carry some more transmission fluid, right? Okay. So, but you want to carry all the fluids that you need. And I'm not going to tell you all the fluids. Dadgummit, if you can't do something, come on, man. I mean, you know what fluids you need. There's videos and things about that forever. All right. I'd have some penetrating oil. It's amazing, what you can do with penetrating oil. All right. Miscellaneous parts. All right. Before you leave, you know that your fan belts are good. Fan belt numbers, the ones in my head, I can't, think about this. Over the years, if somebody's changed the pulley or done some change, the belt length could be a little different, right? Before you leave, you need to know the belts to fit your coach, dadgummit. Now, three that come to my mind, 7450, 7570, and 7619, 13. See, do not just go buy these belts. Don't do that. If you do, that's your mistake. You need to know, one, the condition of your belt, what the belt is, and if it doesn't say on it, well, then dadgummit, take it off and take it down and find out what it is. Because if you say, well, what's the alternator belt? 75 there. When you go buy 75, 70, it doesn't fit, your problem. Not mine, yours. Things you want to take are things that are going to fail that either you assume are fine. So that's why I'm saying, if you check everything, maybe you don't have to carry it. Like a radiator hose. Now, they do blow, and they're reasonably cheap, and it wouldn't hurt to have an upper and a lower radiator hose. If you need those part numbers, research a little bit. If not, call me. I have these sheets, and I have the database, and we can set this all up. You need to have a list of stuff. And you guys with fuel injection, you need to have a paper list with you of what the replacement parts are. So you get in the lower lompoc somewhere and something fails, and you're going to go in and say, well, I've got the thing here, and this is done. You go, what? What year is it? What's the model? I mean, come on. You're going to have those part numbers available to you. So you go through all your fuel injection stuff, you look at all the sensors, you look at all the stuff that they say you're going to have, and you have that stuff. Make sense? If you don't, you're on the side road, you can be Homer. Don't be that way. All right. We got the motor stuff. Wheels and tires. All right, this is another one that pre-flight, your tires have to be less than 5 years old. Look at your date codes. If you don't know the date code, there's an oval-shaped stamp with 4 digits. The first 2 are the week, the second 2 are the year. Like a 3605. That's the 36th week of 05. And if that's on your coach, back away slowly. Okay? Because 14 years ago, that tire should have been thrown away. Okay? This is really important. All right? So I said, well, that's a good looking tire. This is fine. You cannot see the adhesion between the cord and the rubber. Can't see it. You can't buy a tire in Europe over 7 years old. Why? Well, they're smarter than we are about that stuff. They go, well, that's all right. We'll do it. Take it. You can get away with that. Odds are in your favor. But on a GMC, because you're heavy load, it is not. All right. Enough of that. You should have checked your bearings. Not going to tell you to take bearings with you. You should have good bearings on there. And if you go 3,000 miles in the bearings fail, you got more problems than that. Okay? So no reason to carry bearings and stuff like that. You need something, you call me, I give you all the part numbers. You're in lower Lompoc, and man, I need a bearing. I can't believe it. Okay, cool. You're not an island. Call me. I'll give you the part numbers. We'll get whatever you need, and we'll go from there. But don't carry that stuff. Okay? Just don't do that. Brake parts? No, no, no. Because you should have had good brake stuff. Now, if you didn't check your brakes, well, you may want to have a ditty bag of brake parts. But you should have had good brakes, so you have some brake fluid in your fluids. Should be all you need. Should be. But that's up to you. Okay? So wheels and tires is not a whole lot that you're going to be able to do or carry or have or whatever. And in just about anything is overnight. You saw that video I did about Granger. Wow. It's like a local store. You can go in and get any one of like 1.6 million parts the next day. And it's not junk parts. It's good stuff. Well, distribution has gotten to the point that you are not an island. You are not going to have flags hanging out and sit there in the chair until you turn into bones because you don't have a dealy bop. Doesn't happen that way. You got an internet. You got all kinds of stuff. So you want to rely on some of that stuff. See, at the bottom, I got the phone. We're going to talk about that. You need to have connectivity. The things on your spares list are stuff like you're on the side road right there, right then. It was something that you did not anticipate, and we're going to get you safe. All right. Tires, you're chicken there, brother. Tools. I did a video on jacks and how to jack the coach up. All that stuff, it's under the sofa, right? If you're a ranch hand, it better be under the sofa. I'll go check out your coach at a rally. Your jack set better be under the sofa. You'll be KPing. Hand tools. Oh, come on. Go to Harbor Freight, buy one of those $45 complete tool sets, right? Have whatever wrench or doodad you need to pull a lug nut off. I'm not going to tell you that. You figure it out. Tighten it back down. You need to have a calibrated torque wrench? No. You're on the side of the road. Ants are on your foot. You don't care what the torque is. Just big breaker bar. Get the thing off. Get it back on. Let's go. All right? No reason to waste tall space and weight and all that stuff. You know, calibrated torque. Well, you say, well, it's the same as another. All right. That's to interpretation. Have the tools you need that you feel you'll need. Wire cutters, crimpers, strippers, that tool set, the voltmeter, you know. Think about it before you leave, because these are your hands. These are your tools. These are what you're going to have, right? When you're out there in battle and you're in the foxhole and what you're going to do, okay? Talked to a friend of mine that was in Vietnam. They're in a foxhole in the middle of nowhere, and they all knew they were going to die. They were just going to die. You knew it. So they had claymores there, and they just started throwing claymores out. It didn't go off, but as they came closer, as they came, they started stepping on the claymores. They didn't have any bullets. All they had was claymores. You work with what you got. And right now is the time that you're going to throw enough claymores in your bag to have something to do. Blocks with the jacks and all that stuff. All right. Materials. I'd have something to lay on. You know, you're going to be in, you know, those ants. Get something that ants that'll take on like 5 minutes to get around, you know. Wire, something to wipe your face, a flashlight, one of those flat ones. So when you're underneath that thing, when your nose hitting the frame like this, you know, you can get the light up under there. You know, the safety cones and stuff. I mean, really, I was on the side of the road one time, electric fuel pump. The motorhome stopped. I couldn't hear the electric fuel pump running, right? So I'm in the middle of the night on the side of I-95, laying on the side of the road, trucks. I looked up and whoosh, 2 feet away. I stuck my hand up under the electric fuel pump. Wasn't running, but it was flipping red hot. I could cook a ribeye on that thing. I went inside, went up front, yanked the thing up, fired it, turned off the batteries, and got on the other side of the ditch and waited 20 minutes. I couldn't see what was going on up under there. Because why? Because the pump and everything was back up inside. And yeah, the pump took a dump. Why? Because it was clogged with garbage. Why? Because the filter was after the pump. All right? Filter. Remember that inline filter I told you about? Go back to your thing. 33689 wicks. Thank Jason for this, because this is a metal 3/8 barb, inline, large, before the pump filter is 10 microns. Most filters are 100 microns. This is a 10 micron filter. It has a little metal strap on it. You can screw it in, outside the frame. So whatever you've got, take it out and put in a 33689. A couple of buddies, ranch hands, have asked me about some other fuel filters. What I'm interested in is 10 microns, because that's the garbage that's coming out of our metal tanks. You got to stop that before it gets to any electric pumps, and certainly before it gets to your carburetor, your throttle body. All right. Last thing, your phone. All right, here's the deal. You're on the side of the road. Something happens. Everything's doing great, and then, right? All right, so you're on the side of the road. Something happens. You're on the side. First thing you got to do is get safe. Whatever that takes. Get safe. And try to stay level, because remember, you got a 4.5-inch deep fuel tank. If you get on the side of the road and you're like this, and you have, say you had half tank, you just get ready to stop and get gas, you might run out of gas on the side of the road. Then you start trying to level. Oh, that level system didn't work. I just pumped it up. Didn't have a compressor. I can pump it up. All that stuff. You need a compressor. You need enough wire to get the compressor hose from your airbag or wherever you're going to put air in to a 12-volt source. One guy didn't have enough wire. Had everything he needed. He had 3 kids and a bunch of coat hangers, and he needed to get power to the compressor to put air in the tire. Had the kids hold the coat hanger wires from the dash, from the 12 volts, and then plugged it in, and he came back and says, I was almost perfect, had almost everything. I didn't have enough wire. Think about that. All that kind of stuff. Have all that. There was a guy in the club that his coach was probably so heavy, he was probably overweight, but he literally had everything. He had a left and a right knuckle. He had ball joints. He had control arm bushings. He had starters. He had alternators. He had every daggum thing in there. The roof, the roof pod was full. You don't need to do that. But I tell you what, he did save somebody at a rally one time. The knuckle went out. Why is that? Because the guy it was bad before he got there. He didn't know it. Frank pulled out all of his stuff, man, and we had a tech session, and we changed that knuckle right there. He had a nut on the knuckle with him. What do you do? So that's not prepared. That's being over prepared because you just want to. You don't need to do that. Right? So get on the side of the road, get safe, stay level. Fire your generator up. Oh, it doesn't work. Well, that's your problem. Fire the generator up. Why? Because it's a 12-volt source. It'll fire. Say your alternator was bad and your battery took a dump. Well, if you can get the generator started up, you can charge the batteries up. And if you have no alternator, you don't need an alternator. If you've got the generator, you've got power source. So go fire your generator up. That also keeps the beer cold. And then take your phone and call me. I'd prefer calls Monday through Friday, normal store hours, when you're working on a project or something. But if you're on the road and you got to open this bag and you got a question, that's why you're a ranch hand. Call me. You cannot be an island. You can't have everything, but everything can be available to you. A smart guy isn't a guy that can do everything. He can get everything done. So let's do that. All right. Now this is a quick edit, no edited, thrown out video before we get into the day's work. So any criticism I have on our editing, no criticism needed because there isn't any. Okay. So thank you. If this is helpful to you, if it isn't, well, you're super. But you can bounce it off what you've got. But you must have spares. You must have tools. You must have some basic knowledge. I'm not saying don't run a GMC, well, but prepare yourself. Prepare yourself to get the use or the need that you're going to need. And, a lot of guys used to joke, well, I just have a cell phone and a American Express card. Well, if that works for you, well, that's cool too. You you could cut this down if you just rely on the money. But where is that? Where do you stop? All right. Well, look, thank you. Thanks for the time. I hope it was beneficial. If it was, hit like, subscribe, share. Ranch hands, this is what we're going to do and a whole lot more of it. Thank you. See you later.